My name is John, my beloved wife's name is Grace, and we're both 34 years old. I'm not fat, but I could lose a few pounds, and I've always thought I was pretty good looking. I had several girlfriends in college and never had a problem attracting the opposite sex. But all of that stopped when I met my future wife. During my freshman year of college, we dated exclusively until the question came up, and 7 months later, she became my wife. She had several admirers in college and has never lacked male attention. She instantly lights up any room and radiates energy. Her playful personality is admirable. I thought we were the perfect couple because we enjoyed spending time together. However, the only problem is that we don't see each other enough to spend as much time as we need to. I am a systems analyst at a large IT company, and she is a registered nurse in the orthopedic department of a large hospital. I usually work 9 hours, 6 days a week, although sometimes I have to stay late if I'm working on a complex or time-sensitive problem. Because of our work hours, we only see each other on weekends. When Grace works, her days shift. We see each other at night, but she's always so tired that she goes to bed by 10 o'clock, which is shortly after arriving home. We try to make up for the lack of intimacy on the weekends. We often discuss fantasies, and we both agreed that fantasies should be just that, fantasies. She was everything I needed, and she assured me that I was the love of her life. I have no time for cheating. She knows my feelings about it. I just wouldn't tolerate it. She works 4 days a week for 13 hours, Monday through Thursday, alternating shifts every 4 weeks. Shifts are usually from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, day or night. There is also a shift change period, which, since she started working in orthopedics, takes about an hour. So on her way home, she usually comes in around 9:30 in the morning or evening. For the last 2 years, I've been asking her to get a permanent day job. But she loves what she does and didn't want to change, so we just put up with her unsociable hours. When we first got married, we both had student loans and agreed that we should pay them off before starting a family. When the loans were paid off, we decided to put off having children until we were comfortably settled in a nice house and neighborhood. 3 years ago, we reached that goal and concluded that it was time for her to get pregnant. Except she'd 18 today was Monday, and I left work early, thinking that I had the flu. I texted my wife that I was going home sick, and she replied that I needed to take flu medicine. I asked her what kind of medication and where I could find it. She replied, Tamiflu, and that it was in the medicine container in the second drawer under her dressing table in our bathroom. I simply replied, okay, and went home. Once home, I went into our master bathroom to look for the medication and instead found something else. I searched the drawers she indicated and found nothing labeled Tamiflu. I opened the top drawer and found flu medicine in there, as well as a foil packet of birth control pills. She had already taken the one labeled for today. I was completely shocked. She had promised me that she had given up the pill over 3 years ago. We had been trying to have a baby for the past 3 years without success. My wife just told me that we were unlucky with our work schedules, and that sooner or later, our schedules would coincide with her fertile period. I decided enough was enough, and we both got tested. After numerous tests, our doctor stated that there was nothing wrong with either of us. I looked at the foil packet of pills and wondered if it was an old packet, but I realized that the days on the pills corresponded to the month and the correct pill for today had already been taken out. Today was Tuesday, the 18th of the month, and 18 pills had been taken, including today's. They were expiring in 2 years, so they must have been refilled recently. Simultaneously, I scrolled through several different scenarios in my mind. Did Grace really want a family? Was she having some sort of secret affair? Did she have health problems I didn't know about? Why did she lie to me? Our bodies weren't getting any younger, and the longer we put off starting a family, the harder it would be. How would I approach her? I took the Tamiflu and collapsed into bed. The next thing I knew, Grace was shaking me, asking how I was feeling and if I needed anything. I told her I felt better and didn't need anything. I actually felt bad that she didn't share anything with me, but she didn't say anything. I watched her as she, obviously thinking I had passed out again, undressed to take a shower. It seemed to me that some parts of her body were reddened. Suddenly, I realized that she must have had an affair after her shift before she came home. When she worked in the other department, her shift change took less than 10 minutes. Why should it take an hour now? She didn't close the bathroom door, and I walked over to where I could watch her reflection in the full-length mirror. I thought, she had spent an ungodly amount of time tidying herself up. Was this a regular thing? I had no idea, because I had never watched her before. She undressed in our bedroom, and her clothes lay where she had left them. I picked up her undies, and, yes, they were still wet. I returned them to lay under her robe and went back to bed. I was angry beyond words. Up to this point in my life, I thought everything was perfect. Now, I wasn't so sure. Next to me, Grace had acted like the perfect wife. However, I realized that there had to be a side to her that I didn't know existed. I needed more information. She came back into the bedroom from the shower and got into bed with me. I had never been in bed at this time of night. She didn't even try to hug or comfort me, and I stayed on my side of the bed. She was gone long before I woke up the next morning. I called my boss and told him I had the flu. I had a bunch of sick days and needed some free time to figure out what to do. One of my best college friends had become a lawyer, so I called him and asked for advice. I soon learned that we lived in a no-fault state, and since we had no children, we only had to split our assets 50-50. The biggest asset was our house, which had accumulated some equity. It needed to be sold, and the proceeds divided. My friend agreed to represent me if I decided to file. He assured me it was a slam dunk. At 8 o'clock that evening, I parked outside to follow Grace's car. We both have iPhones, and I checked her location with the Find My Phone app and determined that she was still in the orthopedic ward. After 10 minutes, I realized she was on her way. So I called the ortho ward and asked to speak to her, but was informed that her shift was over and she had left. I realized that she had lied to me about the shift change period, which was actually only 10 minutes or less. I continued to watch the app on my phone and realized that the blue dot had stopped in an area that was unfamiliar to me, but still within the hospital complex. I got out of the car and decided to find her phone. It wasn't as easy as it sounded. I found the right place, but the wrong floor. Finally, after at least 20 minutes, I found myself outside one of the rooms used by doctors to rest when they work long shifts. Inside, I could hear the sounds of lovemaking. I needed to hide to see who came out of the room, and I managed to find an open janitor's closet about 50 feet away. After about 20 minutes, Grace came out of the room and headed toward the garage. A few minutes later, a man came out. After a while, he locked the door. I walked up to him and asked for directions, which he graciously provided. He was a few inches taller than me and looked like a Greek god. I looked at his name tag and recognized his name. Dr. William, I needed a plan. I called my supervisor from home and explained that, yes, I had the flu, but there was an urgent personal family issue, and I needed some personal time to deal with it. He understood, as he had been involved in a terrible divorce himself a year ago. He said to take as much time as I needed, but to keep him informed so he could arrange cover. I then called my friend Max, the lawyer, and told him that I wanted Grace to be served when she left the house after sex on Thursday night. He said he could arrange that and asked if he could help with anything else. I didn't know what else I needed to do, so he offered to split our money and cancel the credit cards. Did I have any plans after I left her? Was there anywhere for me to go? I tried to deal with things as they arose and admitted that I hadn't gotten that far. He told me to come to his office first thing the next morning. Max had done this several times, and he had a checklist of things for me to do. He even had a list of hotels with reasonable weekly rates. I had a few things to do, starting with contacting a transportation company to schedule a small shipment to be delivered the next morning. I planned to just put my stuff in storage until I found a more permanent place to live. Next up was the bank, where I withdrew half of all our accounts and canceled our credit cards. I reinstated the accounts in my name only and ordered new credit cards. I then called and arranged to have her cell phone disconnected at midnight after she was served. That evening, I was sitting in my computer room saving files that I might need in the next few weeks. When Grace came home on time at 9:30, we exchanged greetings. Then she went to shower and went to bed. I also went to bed early, very early, as I had a busy day ahead of me. She never once noticed when I went to bed. I didn't notice at all how cold she had become. The next morning, she left the house early, and the movers arrived at 9 o'clock sharp. I had a list of things to take with me and had put stickers on everything that needed to be packed. My car was packed with suitcases and computer equipment that I would need for work when the movers were done. I went out and bought one black rose because it symbolizes death and leaving and also indicates major changes or upheaval in the future. In this sense, a black rose also means the death of old habits and the old order. In this case, it meant the death of our marriage. I placed it in the center of the kitchen table and wrote a short note. Grace, if you remember, I called you on Monday and told you I was sick and was going home. You told me to take Tamiflu and told me where to find it. However, it was not in the second drawer of your dressing table, but in the top drawer next to your birth control pills. Suddenly, several pieces of a large puzzle came together. You weren't even trying to have a baby because you were having an affair with a doctor at work. I think your affair with Dr. William was more important than our marriage. And I understand it's been going on since you were transferred to Ortich, HOPDICS. So many lies. How could you? I thought we had a great marriage and trusted each other completely. I thought you loved me, and now you've broken my heart. Surely you knew that when I found out, our marriage was going to break up. Guess what? Since we live in a no-fault state, I don't need proof of your infidelity, which, by the way, would be very easy to obtain. I've split our accounts and taken everything I wanted out of the house. By the way, have you discovered that your cell phone and credit cards may not be working? Find somewhere to move, because in 60 days, I'm listing the house and anything left inside will go to Goodwill. Now you're free to do whatever you want. I bet he's married and has a family, doesn't he? You have to realize his wife will find out. What will the hospital say? Remember when I said I wouldn't tolerate infidelity? I'm just preparing you for what might happen in the future. Not your husband anymore, John. P.S. Here's my wedding ring. I don't need it anymore. So I left the paper with the ring on the table and left the house. I checked into one of the hotels with a weekly rate and waited. Grace was served by a deputy sheriff who worked for Max in his spare time. His specialty was service of process. Apparently, she had a tantrum and passed out. The doctor had to come out of his room in his underwear to render aid to her. An hour later, she called, angry and wanting to know why I had sued her for divorce. I asked her why she would even ask such a stupid question. I told her that she had been cheating on me since she went to the orthopedics department, which was over 2 years ago. She asked when I found out about her affair, and I told her last Monday when I was looking for Tamiflu and found her birth control pills. After that, it was easy to figure it all out. I disconnected the phone call. Apparently, she hadn't read my letter. I didn't get much sleep, but I decided to go to work. The next day, I found a mountain of work that had piled up. I had nowhere to go and no one to go home to, so I started working 16 hours a day. 7 days a week, Max and I talked often, and one day I asked him if the doctor was married, and if so, was there any way to let his wife know. Max said he would consider it. Grace was fighting the divorce. I hadn't seen her or heard from her, but her attorney was in contact with Max. The hearing date was approaching, and I found myself in the same room with her, though she wasn't looking at me. I was wearing a suit with a black rose in the lapel. The judge was unfriendly and didn't like divorce cases. Grace wanted us to go to counseling, and Max asked what the point was, since she had been having an affair for a while. I boldly told the judge that I would not attend any court-ordered counseling. I didn't care if he put me in jail. As far as I was concerned, my wife was a lying, cheating, deceitful girl, and I didn't even want to be in the same room with her. I told him that, in my opinion, I had done nothing wrong, and that it was Grace who broke our wedding vows, which led to the divorce. Sent her to counseling as she was the one who needed it. I was quickly found guilty of contempt of court and fined. I didn't really care. I was furious, and Max had to get me out of court before I could say anything that would send me to jail. He reminded me that it was only a hearing. I asked Max to find out if Grace was avoiding the doctor. I wanted to do some serious damage. Max hired a detective who set up a video camera in the doctor's break room and filmed them after hours. She was also caught trashing me on audio tape. The sex would make an X-rated movie. There was almost no kissing or touching. They were just fuck buddies. I asked Max if the hospital could be held accountable now that we had video evidence. He didn't think we could use the video in court, but certainly. If the video were leaked from an anonymous source, it would give the hospital a bad name and attract unwanted publicity. He advised me to wait until the divorce was finalized and then send the video to the hospital administrators, the doctor's wife, and our friends and family. He gave good advice. If she was fired before the divorce was finalized, I would have to pay alimony. I, of course, did not want to do that. Finally, the day of the divorce came, and the judge ruled in favor of divorce without counseling. He said, too much bad blood had already been spilled, and he felt their marriage was beyond repair. So the divorce was granted. The next day, the video leaked from an anonymous source, completely unrelated to me. Shit quickly hit the fan. Grace called me and asked me why I did all this. I told her that there was no proof that I had leaked the video. However, I wanted to thank whoever had done it. I also reminded her that I would not tolerate being cuckolded, and she did it to my face and even continued after I filed for divorce. She had dissolved 2 marriages. I said it could be worse, and she asked how. It could be worse. It got worse the next day when our family and friends reacted to the video. Everyone took my side, and no one had nice words for her. Everyone thought we had such a perfect marriage. That was 3 years ago, and I haven't seen Grace or heard from her since. She was badly burned out. I married a second time to a wonderful woman, and we have a 1-year-old daughter. My new wife wants a big family and plans to be a stay-at-home mom. That's what I've always wanted. If you were wondering what happened to Grace and William, they had a hard life. Grace tried for almost a year to talk to me. I'm not sure why she tried. I didn't give her a chance to reconcile. Both William and Grace were unceremoniously fired. William's wife filed for divorce. Grace could have handled it, but then I sent out the video to our friends and family. It was the final blow to her. So she started thinking about leaving to start over. If she hadn't tried to contest the divorce, she might not have lost her job. Grace didn't want a divorce, so she sought counseling, but I got very angry, and she lost the case in court. Her second mistake was that she continued to date William and have sex with him. I did a very smart thing by waiting until our divorce was finalized before sending out the video. If I had sent out the video before our divorce and she was fired, I would have had to pay alimony, eventually. Feeling completely ashamed and humiliated, she moved to Oklahoma City and found work as a nurse in a doctor's office. She may be trying to get her life together, and I hope she has learned her lesson. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'll see you again. Take care.